Hey everyone, Pinoy X here once again, back with another video. Today we'll be looking into a piece of Monster Hunter lore that was recently revealed regarding a particular character introduced within Monster Hunter Rise who currently runs the guild in Kamura village. This is Guildmaster Hojo. Now the reason we're going to be looking into this particular lore is for two reasons. The first one is we're going to compare this lore to another character introduced in the Monster Hunter series, and the second reason we're looking into this is because this is a piece of lore that I think Capcom can incorporate into gameplay in future Monster Hunter titles. Now let's go ahead and take a look at this piece of lore that Capcom recently introduced regarding Guildmaster Hojo and the events that happened in his life when he was still an active hunter. Alright, so the piece of lore we're going to be looking into regarding Guildmaster Hojo is this one right here. For those of you who can't see your screen, possibly you're listening to this video instead, basically what it says is Guildmaster Hojo once beat a Tetranodon using sumo wrestling. When he was a hunter, bringing a monster down with sumo was unheard of, and people still speak of it in awe to this day. Now what's fascinating here is that Guildmaster Hojo wrestling against a monster, it's not the first time we have seen this happen in the Monster Hunter series. There's actually another character who is known to wrestle but with a very large monster instead. This character is a Wyverian known as his Immenseness. The difference here is that his Immenseness is a giant of a Wyverian and he was able to wrestle against a Lao Shan Long. The question as of right now is, did Guildmaster Hojo, who's in the opposite end of the spectrum, who's a much smaller Wyverian, did he have the exact same physique as he does now when he took on this Tetranodon? Because if the case is that he did have the exact same physique, think about that for a moment. Sumo wrestling involves grappling and possibly lifting your opponent in order to throw them out the ring. Was he able to lift a Tetranodon with his current structure when he was in his prime taking on monsters? Because if he was, that would be a super awesome moment to see in Monster Hunter Rise. In fact, I would like Capcom to incorporate Hojo as one of the Rampage helpers and possibly sumo wrestle against some of the monsters in the game in order to showcase his strength as a hunter without utilizing any weapon types. That would be super awesome in my opinion as a gameplay mechanic they can add in the future of this title. Now with all of this information being said, there is another character who does use hand-to-hand combat, but this one is a human, and that is the Admiral in World Iceborne. You can see that he was ready to throw down against Shara Ishbalda with his bare hands, and he utilized a boulder in order to block a Rajang's attack, and obviously he was supporting it with his arm rather than with a weapon. So you can see that hand-to-hand combat is a frequent combat tactic that some hunters use in the series. And this brings us to the next part of the video. Could Capcom incorporate hand-to-hand combat in future Monster Hunter titles as a means of a weapon type? Now obviously the whole idea of taking on a monster without bringing any of the traditional weapons is not really anything new. A lot of people have been wanting to punch, kick, headbutt, and maybe even suplex a monster for quite some time now. I even made a video quite a while back talking about this particular subject. However, Capcom never really incorporates this in any way, shape, or form in terms of gameplay, not until Monster Hunter Rise. Rise is the only game as of right now as far as I'm aware, and maybe even Iceborne with the Ryu layered armor and the Sakura layered armor, where Capcom plays with the idea of taking on monsters with martial arts or any other kinds of hand-to-hand combat. The Akuma layered armor is probably the best one out of all of them, because not only does this layered armor turn your sword and shield invisible, it changes some of the key animations with the sword and shield in order to match Akuma's playstyle in Street Fighter. So this is the closest thing that we have as of right now in the entirety of Monster Hunter, where you can take on any creature with just your hands and legs in pure hand-to-hand combat. Now hopefully in future Monster Hunter titles, Capcom can evolve this idea into something even further, meaning that they can separate it from the sword and shield and turn it into its own separate weapon entity. But whether or not they actually do that, that remains to be seen. But nevertheless, what do you think about Guildmaster Hojo, the Admiral, and even his Immenseness taking on monsters, large monsters at that, in hand-to-hand combat such as wrestling, sumo wrestling, or just outright brawling in the world of Monster Hunter? And what do you think about having a weapon type that focuses on hand-to-hand combat? let us know in the comments below your overall thoughts and opinions regarding the subject that we have just covered for the future of the Monster Hunter series. Now with all of that being said, if you enjoyed these videos, please consider leaving a like on the video itself and subscribing to the channel, as well as hitting that bell icon so you can go ahead and catch up on any future Monster Hunter content that I might be doing or any other games that I might be playing in future. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Onward and upward.